Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. I'm not sure where you're at, but welcome. So we're just going to give it a couple of more minutes for a few others to join, and then we will kick off our call. Peter, just let me know when you're ready.
Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, we'll give it another minute or two. See
Yes,
a lot
sir.
of familiar faces
Yeah.
and names. Kim, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, perfect. Let me just do that again. Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Kim Davenport. I'm a senior account executive here with iTech Support. And I am excited to introduce you also to Tim Martin. He is one of our solution engineers, and he's actually going to be driving most of the demo today and kind of taking us through everything so that we can kind of review it. So I'm not going to PowerPoint everybody to death, but let me get this second PowerPoint to move. Okay, there we go. So for those of you who don't know, iTech, we began reselling as a VAR with Acumatica and back in 2015. That's when we first brought it to the market in our portfolio. And then as of 2025, we're extremely proud to say that we are now supporting over 200 companies in 6 countries and 27 states. And one of the bigger things that we really are very pleased about is our 100% implementation success. So, definitely you can kind of see by the map where all we're located at, and happy to help you. So our agenda today is just a little bit, which I've done the introduction to iTech, and then we're going to be reviewing the new Acumatica 2025 R2 user interface. I really like it. It's really nice. Tim's also going to be taking us through the warehouse data collection, as well as the distribution and manufacturing resource planning, and then cycle countings, and then we'll be doing some follow-up discussions. Please keep in mind as we go through this that you may have a pop-up box for questions, so feel free to go ahead and click on that. So a little bit about Acumatica for those of you that don't know. So Acumatica is a premier cloud ERP, so offering worldwide adaptable cloud and mobile technology. Those are two of my favorite things, is definitely the mobile. They have a transparent and growth-friendly licensing, unlimited user model, cloud ERP with high reliability and security, and access from anywhere on any device. So currently they are supporting over 10,000 clients. So 290 independent software VARs or vendors that we're working with. And they're processing about 300 billion in transactions per year. So that just kind of gives you a little bit. So Acumatica, for those of you that don't know, there is one Acumatica product, but there's different editions. So we have a general business, we have distribution, we have manufacturing, we have construction, and we also have professional services edition. So it's one of the things I love about Acumatica is the fact that you can have all of those running in one system and it's still the same product. It's just tick of the box. So this is just a little bit about Acumatica, but I know some of you already are Acumatica customers, so I'm going to go ahead and kick this over, and I'm going to hand it to Tim and let him take you through this.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and ask the classic question. Hopefully everyone can see my screen okay, can hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
So, all right, great. So as mentioned, we're going to maybe dive here into the WMS data collection initially. So I like to show maybe receiving a purchase order, which you can see I have a purchase order open. It's already ready to go. We can just start receiving here. And over here, I just want to show this is mirroring the app here I have, which I'm just using my Android phone. Any device will work just fine. So this is the native Acumatica app. And so what we're going to do is, first off, just briefly go through and receive something. So I'm going to scroll down in the app right here. I'm going to click on warehouse management. As you can see, a bunch of different options there to make your life a lot easier. In this case, again, if your role allows it, which I have admin, so I have access to all of this. So we're going to do a receive and put away. And here I could scan, if I had a barcode for this, I could. I don't have one right now, so I can just go ahead and enter. As you can see, I'm going to enter, make sure I have the correct PO here so it doesn't yell at me. And you can also receive by receipt as well, but as soon as I enter that in here, it's just going to pull that up, and it's just like, you know, hey, we're good to go. So pretty much just follow the prompts of what once you do. So go ahead and scan the item. I can do this. I can enter it in again. In this case, you know, scanning is fun, so why not scan? So you do this. You can also actually have an actual handheld device, like a, you know, I actually have one of those scanners myself. I just prefer using my phone. So I'm going to turn this off so you guys don't get dizzy. So here it knows, hey, I have one of these added in. And you could scan one at a time, but it also has the option to set your quantity. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and receive all 3. And then if there was anything else received, we could do that. In this case, we're good to go. So I have the option just to release the receipt. Maybe you only receive partial. Your other lines you want to do later, but I can go ahead and release the receipt or complete the PO lines. In this case, both are going to happen because there's only one line here. I want to draw your attention back to the purchase order here. So that's going to process through. And if I go to my PO history, once this updates, you're going to see here, it already created the receipt right here. And then once this finishes processing, my refresh screen here. So if I go here in my history, you're going to notice the receipt, it's already released, and it automatically closed out and completed the purchase order. And then if we go here, we can look at our item, and you notice, oh, I already have 3 sitting and receiving, because that's what I've set my receipt process to, the receive and the receiving. And so one feature here is you're going to notice there's actually a put away tab right now. So Acumatica here now in the latest edition here actually allows you to do a directed put away. Now it'll be based on whatever you have set for the item. So it already knows you notice here, since it's pulling up this receipt, since I was just in it, it's like, well, I assume you're probably putting that one away. Otherwise, you would want you to scan the receipt and then the number. But since it already knows we're here, we can go ahead and scan the item. Otherwise, if you don't want to do direct put away, that's fine. You can just use the traditional route of using a transfer. And you'll notice right here, it's telling you, hey, R1, S1, row 1, shelf 1 is the put away location. That's based on what's in the stock item. So this is a nice feature that Acumatica has built out. It lets you lets you select a location there. So in this case, I'm gonna set my quantity. We're gonna move all 3 to row 1, shelf 1. Otherwise, like I said, you can not do the directed put away and just scan and move it to wherever you want. But we're going to go ahead and do that. Turn my scanner off here so I'm not making people dizzy. And then if we go here, we'll take a look here again at the inventory, and it'll show you that the item is now moved from receiving in the row 1, shelf 1. So you notice they got those put away. So that's a neat feature. A lot of people would ask about direct put away. Again, that's per the stock item. So the next step is, if you want to look up an item, you can, part of the warehouse data collection, you could do an item lookup. So here I can go ahead, you know, if you're not sure about an item, how much you have in stock, you can go ahead and scan. I have my cheat sheet in front of me here. So here I can look up, you know, various information about it, but most of it's going to be under the review button here. And this will show you, you know, looks like I have some in row 1, shelf 1, row 1, shelf 2, 0 in receiving. So that's also a quick way to look up. And if you need to scan and transfer, you can move things around your warehouse, you know, receiving, you know, inventory in, not necessarily from the same as receiving put away. But let's go ahead and click the pick, pack, ship. That's kind of the last feature of, you know, the WMS data collection. So in this case, I already have a shipment open under sales orders here. So I wanted to try to save some time. So this one's already open. And I went ahead and I have the pick list created. Just want to have everything in front of you here. This is just an example form of a pick list. And if you notice here on our WMS, we're on the pick pack ship mode. So here I can either enter in the shipment. In this case, I'm going to scan it because why not? So I'm going to go ahead and scan my shipment number right here. Okay, it says it's loaded and ready to be picked. And it says scan the location. Well, you'll notice here, I can pick, maybe I don't want to go row 1 shelf 1. I want to go to row 1 shelf 2. So you can go in whatever order you want. In this case, I'm going to be go out of order here a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, I'm happen to be close to row 1 shelf 2. So I'm going to go ahead and scan that location right there. And scan my item, which it also happens to be right here on my pick sheet. Otherwise, they could scan the location, but my mouse is in the way. Nope. Scan. So the thing about using barcodes that are really close together is it will scan whatever you're closest to. Let's try that again. I need to do a better job at scanning. Okay, well, we're going to scan my other location here since that one is a little closer. We're going to go ahead and scan my item. Again, part of this is because I have my barcodes really close together. All right. Might help if I scan the correct barcode, wouldn't it? All right. Scan this one right here. Okay. All right. I'm going to give myself a round of applause for actually scanning what I should have scanned in the first place. So I can set my quantity down here. And then in this case, I'm just going to do 2. Otherwise, you could require someone to scan something every time, but that's probably a bit unnecessary. All right. And so in this case here, I already went and scanned the other item through the row 1 shelf 2. So in this case, I can go up here and confirm my picking, or I could go ahead and confirm the shipment from here, but let's just confirm picking for now. And then that's going to process through, and it gives you a nice little chime letting you know that, hey, good job, you picked everything. So if we go back and just take a look at our shipment here and refresh that, you're going to notice that it updated the quantity. You'll see it picked 2, picked 1, we're good to go. And there's also a packing option here. If I go to the pack ship, I was in the packing mode. I can do a drop down and I can do packing. In this case, we have these automatically set to pack, but you could scan a package and move those items through if you want. And we could have confirmed a shipment from our handheld. In this case, we can do it from here. So that's kind of a brief overview of the actual, and there's a picture of my lovely wife, my phone. So that's a brief overview of the actual Acumatica app and the WMS solution. There's other things it can do, but that's kind of the primary purpose. And so the next portion we want to start talking about is DRP. Similar to MRP, MRP is more for the manufacturing. So we're going to take a look at our DRP, so Distribution Requirements Planning. So it's under its own workspace inventory planning. And what this does, it's a powerful solution that allows you to do everything for demand planning in one location. So from here, you can do purchases, you can do transfers, you can do kit assembly. And if it'd be MRP, there would just be another tab here for, a production order or manufacturing order. So what this is doing right now is I have it sorting and ascending. So it's just taking everything into consideration right here. Any item that's set for DRP. If you don't have DRP turned on, it would just be inventory replenishment, and that's a different process. So in this case here, I want to see what type. So maybe it's filling up to my safety stock, or maybe it's considering a forecast, or maybe there's a planned kit assembly demand. So that's just saying, hey, I need these items for another kit assembly. So down here, you'll see planned kit assembly, but then this is actually assembly demand. So this is something that's already in play. So there's different phases. So DRP is going to consider all kinds of different phases of product that you want to be handling. And in this case here, these are all forecasts going out into the future. So we'll touch on forecasting here in just a second, but I had generated a forecast and those are actually pouring in. Otherwise, you're going to see it's considering all the safety stocks for all these different items. And it's letting you know, hey, in this case, I need 75 of these items right here. And this is considering that I don't have anything else turned on. Maybe I have an economic order quantity of 1,000. Well, then you're not going to see anything, or else it's going to only suggest 1,000, and until it goes over that, you're not going to see it. Otherwise, it'll show you, hey, it looks like I have a sales order coming. So if you don't want to see all your sales orders, you may want to change how much you're going to be buying. In this case, I'm going to see everything. So it looks like I need 100. I can click into the actual sales order here if I want to do that, or click into my kit assembly. So all the documents are here as well. And then if you want to purchase, you could filter, I only want to see I only want to see purchase. I don't want to do with transfers. But if I do, I could click this. Maybe I want to purchase this and these items. And from here, I would actually just click purchase, and it would take me to a screen and actually start creating my purchase order. And you can see different vendors over here. I could sort by vendor. Maybe I'm just in charge of 1 or 2 vendors. So I could sort and filter by that. And then even if I'm buying several items from the same vendor, provided that the promise and action date, this is just letting me know based on lead times what I need to do. So as long as the dates line up and it's the same vendor, it would actually put everything on that same purchase order for that vendor, given all the parameters line up. So DRP is really going to save you a lot of time in putting together what makes sense in one purchase order. And again, you can sort and filter this how you want. I have everything showing right now, so it can look like a lot. You could sort it by warehouse. In this case, maybe I don't want to do purchase. I just simply want to transfer from one warehouse to the other. So I could do that by doing this and clicking transfer. Also want to show some kit, just speak to kits here briefly. So DRP really makes kit assembly a lot easier to manage. You can do kit assembly without having DRP, but DRP is going to watch the safety stock and sales orders coming in and actually allow you, in this case, looks like this stock kit right here, I need to do a kit assembly. So from here, I could click this and actually click assemble kit, and it would put a kit assembly in a hold status. I'd still have to go and release that, but it's at least going to create that. So I don't have to go in and manually do that, simply based on safety stock. Then once that's released, you'll notice here it's doing it for, it knows it's for a sales order. And then on top of that, it looks like I need to create 5, but it's also showing, well, I need 5 of this item for this playing kit assembly. I need 5 of this and that for the same kit. So it's showing you all the components that maybe you need to purchase or transfer. Maybe you don't need to purchase it. Maybe you just need to pull it out of stock. So all that very simply managed here from DRP. And if you want a little more information on what's going on with an item, I'm just clicking down here on my AA computer. That's my favorite item. So on this line, and there's a side panel up here that you can actually click into as well. Acumatica is having its side panels is really a powerful part of what it does as well. So here it's just kind of showing you what all is going on behind the scenes. It's like, hey, my safety stock is 400. So that's really what it's trying to do, is get you to that safety stock. And here it's showing me everything that's in play, all my forecasting, my safety stocks, sales orders. This is kind of a lot to look at, just showing you that if you wanted to sort and filter over here, there's a side panel. It just kind of shows you what else is going on with that item. So like I said, we can do all our purchases, transfer kit assemblies, and if you have MRP turned on, instead of DRP, creating your production orders, and production orders would behave very similarly. You have components you might need to purchase or transfer. And then inventory planning, it's its own workspace here. You could regenerate it. So what that does is, maybe sales orders come in during the day. You can actually run this as a process screen, because it's gonna, that way you can schedule this, maybe run every day at midnight or every half hour or whatever you want to do. And it's going to constantly update, maybe on a schedule. Oh, looks like you got a new sales order. It looks like someone counted out some stock, and it's constantly monitoring whatever's going on for your business. So once this is processed and run, we also want to talk about some forecasting. So I have another screen open here for forecasting. So we can generate forecasts. I'm just going to start this one over. So what you can do here is decide, do we want to look at just regular forecasting? Is there maybe some seasonality you want to set in place? Maybe you have an item that you have a certain amount you need to get over the summer, but it's less in the winter. Dependent, if you run a forecast, do you want it to in a sense, chew up future sales orders. Like if it's forecasting 500 and you have 2 orders for 100, do you want to show 300 or do you want to completely exclude that? So that's what dependent means. You could run that. You could run it by customer. In this case here, it would just run it by the year. I'm just looking back 1 year and I want it to maybe stay the same. Or I could say, let's double what I did last year and let's put a growth rate, of 20%. I also want to calculate by the month, and you could do every warehouse. In this case, I'm just kind of clicking through one by one to show what you could do. And I'm going to select my lovely Acer laptop. So I'm doing it by the month. I'm going to add 20% to it, or you could change how you want it to go. You could consider item class, customers, all those things. I'm just going to calculate this just as an example for this one item. Again, you could do it by entire item class. Just it's kind of easier to see one item. So in this case, based on last year, it's projecting ahead. Looks like, I would need 960 for here the month of October, but I said I want to add 20%. So it's actually adding on an additional 160 on top of that. And it's doing it as long as there's consistent sales, it'll do it for each month going ahead. So that's the power of, some forecasting here. And again, dependent, if you want to start chopping into future sales, you can. And then if you select all these, you could actually process that. And what those are going to do is actually show up here on a profile for forecast. Just letting me know I'm not going to say what I did because I already put these in here. So here you can see all those forecasts I did earlier are showing up here and they're active. But you could also come in here and be like, you know what, I don't think that's correct. I could actually take that off and I can come in here and say, I think it's going to be 1,000. And you could also import these from a file. You could export to Excel, change them, bring them back in. And then as you have these here, if you saw on our inventory plan display, this is what was showing up as a forecast for our system to consider right here. So you can see all these forecasts are kind of populating through. And right here's that, remember we talked a little earlier, here's that sales order for 100. Well, if these were dependent, this would no longer say 740, it would say 640 because I had future sales orders eating into it. So that is a good bit about the DRP. Just want to make sure, I think if there's any questions, anyone can ask those as we go. So like I said, we covered DRP. Just want to summarize again, kind of a one-stop shop for all your purchases, transfers, kit assembly. It really lets you know what's going on. And you also have to make sure that the stock item is set to DRP. Let me just dive in here just to show you what I mean by that. Is Acumatica is very flexible in letting you decide how do you want to handle this. Maybe not all items you want on DRP. Maybe you want to have it run a different way. But right here under this AA computer, I have it set as planning method DRP. And then under my inventory planning is where you could specify, do you want the purchase? Do you want it to be transferred? Or maybe you want if it was a kit, you could say kit assembly. And then here under warehouses, in this case, we're just considering the wholesale location is where that safety stock is set. We talked about 400. So this is where those things can be changed and monitored. Otherwise, you can bring in defaults when you create new items from the item class. So Acumatica is taking all the information, bringing it together, and really trying to take as much off your plate as possible. When you say, I don't know, how much do I need to get? You can also adjust these. Maybe you want to look at your forecast and be like, you know what? My safety stock should probably be a lot higher because I notice I have to keep buying about 900. Maybe I should raise, or in some cases, lower your safety stock so your costs aren't so high. So that is a bit of DRP. Again, MRP is very similar in the functionality of how you want that to work. So we're actually moving along really nicely here. One area I want to speak to now is we talked about, let me get this bar out of the way here, is inventory cycle counting. And we'll bring back up the app here for this in just a second. So, you have DRP and MRP running to make sure, you need to order certain amounts. But, if your inventory is off by something, you can still have incorrect data. So if you do need to come in, you could do an adjustment here. We're going to talk more about counting, but Acumatica is very flexible. If your role has the access to do so, come in, do an adjustment, fix your inventory that way. Otherwise, maybe we need to come in and actually do an inventory count. So there's some different solutions or different options here. So I'm going to start talking about what builds a count. And Acumatica calls them physical inventory types, because not all counts are created the same. You might want to run a complete inventory count. Maybe you only keep 5 SKUs on hand, but you have a lot of them. So that might be where you want to just do a full inventory count, and it's just going to have everything brought in. Maybe you want to have them by ABC code, or you run them on a certain cycle. Maybe it's based on movement class. In this case, I just did one really simple, try to keep it easy. I just called it my one item count. Maybe there's just one item that's constantly having problems. In this case, I just said, I'm just going to call it one item count. Again, you can choose how you want it to behave, but I'm just doing it by inventory. And I just went and added one item. Again, you could put a bunch of items in here, but I'm just going to count my A100 item. And I said, I'm just going to look at the row 1, shelf 2. For some reason, that's the area that keeps causing problems. If you want, you could have different parameters in place, how it's gonna, do you want to start by location, inventory ID? You can switch these around if you want. But if we're good to go here, and this is how this count is built, we can go ahead now and prepare a physical count. And what it's going to do is, once we know which one we're going to handle, in this case, I'm going to do my one item count. I'm going to select that. And if we're good to go, I'm going to generate, PI stands for physical inventory. So generate a physical inventory. So now it's going to take my parameters I decide here. And you can change these, you can add to it, so you can rename it something else if you like. So here's my physical inventory count. Nothing has really happened yet because I haven't done anything. Just going to create another tab. And Acumatica allows you to also then print out, if you actually need a physical count sheet, you could go ahead and print that out here. You could run these reports. In this case, it knows the last one is number 11. Make sure I have my zeros right, because I entered this before I didn't do them always properly. So you could have this sheet printed out. If you want this, you can also have this book quantity hidden. That just shows you what the system thinks you have. In this case, it's 11. You can have that hidden, because otherwise someone might go through and be like, well, it's supposed to be 11 here, and enter that in. So let's go ahead and bring back our trusty app here. Let me get that turned back on. Okay. So in this case here, we're going to go back into warehouse management. And one of the items here that we didn't do last time was actually scan and count. So in this case here, I could, if I had a barcode, maybe I should start making these into barcodes. Here I can just scan it, or in this case, enter it in. So we're going to make sure it's 4 zeros, 1 1. All right, and just follow the prompts and said, all right, scan the location. So the assumption is you'll probably have some kind of printout here, but in this case, we're going to go ahead and scan our row 1, shelf 2. All right, and then scan the item. In this case, we're counting. If I'd scan the wrong item, it would just yell at me. And now here we can set our quantity. I tap my set quantity button. And in this case, I'm just going to say it's actually wrong. It's only 10. So then if we're happy with that, we're going to go ahead and confirm. And we actually don't need the app anymore. So this count is now done. It was just one item. So now I'm going to go back to that tab I'd open. Maybe someone is sitting there and just watching the count. And you notice now that it was released, we have a count in process or progress. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. And you'll notice now physical quantity 10 is showing up. So that's the 10 that we counted instead of 11. So it's showing you, hey, you have a variance of 1 right here. Well, we have to go get that addressed now. So in this case, we'll go up to our 3 dots. If we're good and we know we're done counting, let's go ahead and click Finish Count. And then you do have other options here, how you want to handle your costs. You could cancel it if we want. In this case, no, we're not going to cancel. We're going to go ahead and complete this. And then we'll go from status of data entering to now complete. And I want to show you this adjustment information tab. You'll notice now, since there was a variance, we have to take care of that somehow. So we're actually going to drill into this. And it went ahead and actually created an adjustment just we talked about earlier, you know, we could manually create adjustments. In this case, it's doing it from an actual a reference right here, which counts. So everything's visible. I'm gonna click into my financial and actually can look at the journal transaction. Acumatica went and created all this itself. I didn't have to go in and manually create transactions. You notice right here, it's actually crediting the inventory asset. One, credit means taking away, and then the physical inventory account. So this is just showing you the transaction. Acumatica went through and created all that for you. So I know we did a really easy one. Otherwise, if you are like, well, okay, that's fine, that was one item. The other inventory type is maybe you want to do an entire item class. So instead of doing a one item, it's like, hey, you know, we're actually going to do an entire, in this case, I call it my consumer goods item class. Maybe I want to count an entire class of items. In this case, I selected my consumer goods, and then, you know, I didn't select any warehouse location, but this would actually be quite a few items. So if I go ahead and, hey, we're going to kick this one into play, and you can break these up. Maybe you want to delete a certain amount of items. In this case, let's just see what this sheet looks like. So I'm going to do my consumer goods, generate my physical inventory count. And here you're going to see, well, it's quite a few more items than before. So it's what we did before, except quite a few more items. I click my generate physical inventory and it will go through, except just on a much larger scale. So
Tim,
that is, yes.
sorry, I was just also going to point out on that, as well as like serial number items as well. You have the capability for the physical inventories for serial number as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't have any of those turned on right now, but yeah, you notice right here you have lot serial. So if there were lot serials, they would actually populate out and you could go through and verify those as well. So, yep. And again, book quantity, you can hide these if you don't want people to see those, because again, that could not people leading to correct counting. So review went through some of the WMS functions, receiving that optional directed put away if you want to do that, picking, and then if you need a pack, and then going through our inventory plan, DRP, also known as MRP if you have manufacturing, and then some counting, also forecasting mixed in with DRP. So we actually made really good time, got through a lot of this. I won't drag it out any longer, but we do have some extra time if there's any other questions. And if there's not, otherwise I would turn it back over to Kim and let her take it from here, unless there's anything else.
I don't have any. Oh, we have a question from Dawn.
Sure.
Peter, do we have them? Is she muted by chance, or can we unmute her?
Yeah, she's muted, but Dawn, if you can drop your question in live chat or the Q&A section, we'll be more than happy to address it.
Okay. While we're waiting on her to drop that in, thank you so much to Tim for showing the 2025 R1 or R2 was this one?
This was R2, yep.
Okay. And Dawn, if it makes it easier, we can also follow up with you after the call. Dominic is typing as well, and Todd. Okay. I went into the chat section, Peter. Okay, can you, Don has asked, can you discuss the inventory availability as seen on the inventory item screen?
Inventory availability as seen on the inventory. Okay. So in this case, opening up, let me know if this is not what you're thinking. Inventory item. Are you talking about, maybe you're talking about, maybe you should talk more about a sales order. Let me go to a sales order here and open one of those up. I think I know the inventory availability. So I think it was this one I have open here. Make sure I go to the correct line. In this case, got my 8.
Okay, she's saying what is available on purchase order and sales order, etc. So I think you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I kind of want to step back a second. You can see it. You can see it. Acumatica is really neat, and that it allows you to see it different ways. A lot of times, when I get asked this question, it's usually in reference to someone entering an order, be like, wow, how much do I have? Well, first off, we can see down here the summary, I have 390, 269 are actually available. In this case, if I'm on this line, I can actually click this item availability, and that will then take me to that, I believe it's inventory allocation screen, allocation details for this item. And then this is where you can see, looks like, I mean, everything from service orders to if it needs a kit assembly, purchase order, sales order, shows you all that right here. And then you can sort and filter this if you want. Gives you a little summary up here. You have 390 on hand, 169 are available. And you can also get to this screen itself. I believe it's actually also on the inventory item itself, but then it would just bring you on a side panel and it would bring you back here. So is this the page you're looking at that you could get to directly from the sales, or is that kind of what you were thinking, Dawn?
Okay.
Otherwise, you can also go to the inventory. Just shows you can go to the inventory item itself. And then right here, it's that same page. You can see inventory summary. It shows you more of just what's in a different view. That's the inventory summary we were doing when we received the item. It shows you kind of what is where, and you can go across and see also what's allocated. It's more like in a grid form. Whereas if we go to the side panel of inventory allocation details, it brings you right back to that same screen. So kind of Acumatica letting you have different ways to get to the same thing if maybe you're not on a sales order.
Yes, she said that was what she was looking for, just wanting to know what's coming, what's committed, back order, and the like. So I think that answers one. And then Todd asked, are these features available in 25R1? I believe they are. The physical inventory has been a standard feature of Acumatica for many, many, many years. The demand planning for distribution, I believe, was released last year, so it should be available in 2025R1. So I believe so. There wasn't anything. Yeah, I think that's right.
The only thing that, and I don't know, the only thing that I think it's available in 25R1 here. This is directed default put away too that we had talked about. That is, I believe, a newer feature. I think it's in 25R1. Obviously, it's in 25R2. This is where you would do, if you want to do direct put away, you put that location in here. Otherwise, everything else we've shown has been in Acumatica for quite a while.
You're welcome, Dawn. And I see Haley typing. Hold on just a second. Haley, for those of you who don't know, she's our customer service manager. Yes, DRP is an add-on. It's just a mod. Yeah. It's just a feature we add on. It's tick box.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not using DRP, otherwise the prepare replenishment is in a sense, if you want to consider what do you need to purchase, this would be if you don't have DRP turned on. This is a different view, but it's not near as robust. You're not going to see forecasts coming here. You can see what the process, quantity on hand, maybe sales orders, what's on demand, what's on supply. It lets you do that, but otherwise you have that versus inventory planning, which has everything right in front of you, and it actually allows you to conduct everything from here. So that's kind of the difference. But yeah, DRP, it's an add-on, but it's a very powerful add-on.
Thank you so much, Tim. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining our webinar today. We really enjoyed presenting this to you, and hopefully it really sparked some interest. I think the new stuff is a lot of fun, and I'm one of those geeks. I love physical inventory, so I know people think I'm crazy, but I love it. So that was fun to see. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Send us a message. I know if you're a current one of our customers, definitely reach out to Haley and Megan and team, or anybody else at iTech. We're happy to answer any questions. And yes, Jeremy, there is going to be a recording of this that'll be sent out. We'll make sure you're included on that list. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I really appreciate your time, and we're so happy that you took time off your day to join us, and let us know if you have any questions, okay?
Thanks.
Great job, guys. Take care.